Alright guys, so we're here. So we're gonna be watching this video by this guy named Shadowfrax. He will be explaining about the new Rust update. As you can see, Jungle Croc, new ROV sub, whatever the hell that is, Naval update, and Boomerang. And 28th of March. So let's check this out.
Greetings survivors and friends, Shadowfrax here with your weekly selection box of rusty development morsels, where today I have a first look at some bits of jungle. That's not a knife, this is a knife, inflatable horses, and news on a new sub, a naval update, no, not that kind, and the Squeaky Boy 3000. But first, last week I mentioned a load of changes coming to softcore mode, and it seems a few of you might have speed listened to the vid as it looked like you were getting confused in the comments. So just to make it clear, these changes are just to softcore mode servers. Normie mode Rust is staying the same. Well, kind of. I mean, it's always changing. But as a quick recap on how it looks at the moment, changes coming to softcore mode are as follows. Deployables will drop half their contents when destroyed and leave a corpse behind, which the base owner can repair to access the other half. Corpses can either be repaired directly, or they can now be picked up and repaired in a bench. If repaired directly where they are, any locks that were on them will also be retained. This applies to tool cupboards as well, which will leave a temporary building block and a corpse, which can later be repaired by an authorized player. Destroyed bags, beds, and towels will now leave a corpse that can be spawned at.
That is completely broken, because that means that there's no, unless they have some form of spawn time or what's the word I'm looking for here? I cannot think of the goddamn word I'm thinking. People can just go up to someone's base, destroy their TC, and then just instantly rebuild it. Or even if you're trying to destroy your own TC and you destroyed it, but the remnants are still there, they can go over there and repair it and just still take over your base. That is broken as hell. That will be nerfed some way, and I can already tell you people will abuse that badly.
One additional time. There are some big changes coming to how items are reclaimed after death. First, reclaim terminals are being removed, and instead if, or should I say when, you die, upon respawning you'll automatically get back half of your belt, inventory and backpack, with the other half including...
Okay, that I already don't like. Because there's no point of playing Rust if you die, you lose all your stuff, and that you get respawned back with half your stuff. I do not like that. The one thing I think they should do is, hopefully they might put it, he might even explain it, is that if you destroy walls or doors or something like that, mostly just through walls or floors and ceilings and crap like that, you should get back half your resources instead of it just being completely gone. The other thing is I want them to actually do is when you actually, because there's a certain time limit, it's like 5 or 10 minutes before a wall is like completely, solidly built. You cannot get rid of it. So once you put a wall there, you put a door frame there, once that time limit is up, you cannot tear it down. I do not like about Rust, because it forces you to having to either start a new base or having to start new attachments to that base because you might have actually messed up on your base. They need to make that to where once you built it there past the time limit or whatnot, you have that option to destroy that part of the wall or part of that door frame or ceiling or floor, no matter what. There should be no time limit on that, so you can actually just expand your base whenever you want instead of actually having to be forced to build a new base or forced to build new attachments to it.
Your clothes or being found on your corpse, although if you die in building privilege or F1 kill, you'll lose everything. You'll now keep any boosts you had from T's, etc. when you respawn. Player bullet damage is being reduced by 25% as default. The maximum team size is being set to 4, and this limitation also applies to the number of players that can be authorized on TCs and turrets, and there are changes coming to upkeep, with doors being calculated separately, it seems. This is all highly subject to change, though, and we should get a full write-up and details in April's patch on the 3rd, and I'll fill you in then. And just to bookend this to avoid confusion, these changes only apply to softcore mode. Softcore. That's the mode these changes apply to. Just softcore. soft. Last week I showed some quality of life changes coming with radius of effect visuals for the heater and sprinkler when you're deploying them, and since then, over on staging, this is now being extended to include Tesla coils, HBHF sensors, igniters, and most importantly, auto turrets, flame turrets, and shotty turrets, although the auto turret and HBHF ones are of a size where they can't be seen from inside them at the moment. I'm sure this will get fixed soon. It's a big quality of life boost, obviously, but if you want to keep your screen as minimal as your loot boxes, then you can turn it off in the menu here. New items, jungle goodness, and remote subs next. But first, you want a real quality of life boost? How about 30% off your own server that's less fuss?
No.
Liar. Pay and get 30%. And there are a couple of new toys on the way for April. Firstly, a very sensible and fashionable inflatable horse costume, which comes in 3 exciting styles and has exactly the same stats as the chicken one, including egg vision. Personally, I'd like to see a 2-man pantomime horse costume, which would require some coordination, of course, but could be an excellent stealth item. And then there's the Sunken Combat Knife, which is a skin for the normal combat knife, sharing all the same stats, and I believe will be included in the Abyss DLC pack at no extra charge. And in another small change, bread loaves will now heal over time instead of giving insta-heals. Oh, and the max placement distance for wall and pole-mounted hanging banners is being increased to make placing them less of a journey. So, now, I've got a first look for you of the jungle biome that's currently only on an internal branch, but here you can get a flavour for how it will look compared to the others with its own flora and fauna. Just remember, this is still being worked on, subject to change, blah blah blah. As you can see, there are a lot of new plants and trees, and what's this? A sighting of the new croc chilling next to a river. I have a feeling you might end up unlocking a new fear of logs after having been here for any length of time. I've also got a couple of shots.
Okay, now we get on to that part. With the new jungle biome coming out, I'm hoping crocodiles are not the only thing that they will be adding to it. Monkeys would be a cool feature to add into the game. One of the things I was talking about with some fellow gamers back a little while back ago was like poisonous frogs or poisonous snakes, since radiation poison is still technically poison in the game, and same thing with eating like raw meat and stuff like that, or human flesh is still a form of poison, but you don't actually have any actual poisonous creatures in Rust. That's another thing. When it comes to other predatory creatures, leopards, jaguars, or tigers would be really a nice variety for the jungle biome too. Personal opinion.
Lots of the jungle ruins that will be biome-specific monuments, just to give you a flavour of how these will look. And I know there is a new jungle building skin being worked on for Stone Tier as well, so I'm wondering whether it might be quite close in looks to these. There's also going to be a larger ziggurat monument, of course. There are a lot of commits relating to all this jungle stuff going on, with some of the latest focusing on animal behaviour. For instance, crocs will be able to chase you faster in water, but will get tired on land, and tigers will have complex flee mechanics, which will depend on your distance to them and what you're aiming at them with. A couple of new untextured assets have appeared, so you can get a rough idea of what the boomerang will look like, along with a bottle of venom, which you'll be able to collect from the jungle snakes and load your blow darts with. There are also going to be some special trees which jungle vines will grow from, and apparently it'll be possible to destroy these trees, but a stump will remain, which will regrow in 10 seconds. They do say stuff grows faster in the jungle. They're not wrong. Elsewhere, in the commits, other interesting stuff's in the pipeline. There's some skin-related improvements with a clothing material refresh branch and an upgrade to transparency on the large wood box, which should lead to some more creative skins on this item. There's a branch titled Vertical Storage Tests that looks like it'll introduce wall-mounted shelving solutions in different sizes, and it appears like we still don't have enough boats. Naturally, because there's a commit on a branch called Naval Update, which mentions a trawler ship, and a couple for a branch called ROV Sub, which I've been able to ascertain means something like this, basically a remote control sub. Think drones, but underwater. And all of this makes me think, are we going to get another sea-based patch sometime this year? Will we be getting more things to explore underwater? Actual floating bases, maybe? Stay tuned, and I'll let you know what else surfaces. And lastly, ideas in the comments, please, on what or who Squeaky Boy 3000 is. knowing facepunch, it's probably some kind of DLC, unless it's something to do with that robo-camel thing from a few years ago that's still in concept limbo. But I guess we'll hear more about it soon, and I'll let you know as soon as I do. Right, you are up to date, so please leave a like.
Yeah, when it comes to any naval or ocean updates, the one thing I would love facepunch to actually do, which I think they should, I'm shocked that they actually never put it in the game itself, is customizing vehicles. Because you have tons of land vehicles, you have the tugboats, but you cannot customize any of them. You can't decorate them in different colors. You don't have skins for them. That is something that I would love Facebook to actually be able to put in there. Someone has a tugboat and they buy a DLC or some crap like that, and then it transforms that tugboat into like a pirate ship. That would be really cool to see. One of the things I would love to see, especially in Rust, is dune buggies or even four-wheelers would be really cool, especially when you're going around in the desert area. The other things I would love to see if they ever do is putting grappling hooks, but make it just strictly for more like terrain wise. So if you're like on like a bottom of a beach and there's like a high cliff and you have to kind of like parkour your way up there, use a grappling hook and it slowly rolls you up into that part of the area. I'm actually really glad that they're actually putting poisonous snakes and frogs and tigers, and they got crocodiles and like that. That is awesome because Rust has been around since 2012, 2013. And it's basically just the same constant stuff over and over. They added bit by piece, but seeing these new updates, I'm a little iffy on some of them. I'm a little happy on some of the others. But yeah, when it comes to like naval stuff like that, that would be pretty cool to see. Even expanding to the point where you'd have like small like little islands out in the ocean that has like shipwrecks. One of the big things I was talking about with some of my gamer buddies is sea caves. Sea caves would be really awesome because you have underground caves, and that's the only cave you got. They had recently put out the God Rocks, which have caves themselves. Sea caves is something that would be really awesome, especially you see a lot of them on the cliff sides and stuff like that. Maybe not making them as like far depth as some of the regular caves that are actually in the game, but far enough into the terrain itself to where you could actually have an actual base itself. I think that would be pretty cool. I don't know how well it would actually work because water would be going into those, so it might actually make the game lag, or they might have some problems with it. When it comes to the wildlife, when it comes to waters, you have like decor fish, like you have decor birds in the game, but you can't farm them or you can't gather them and stuff like that. There is sharks that I know that are in the game, but it's only around shipwrecks, so that's the only time you're going to see sharks in the game. And that's really about it. They don't really have much of variety when it comes to ocean things. Whales or dolphins would be a nice thing to actually put in the game. If you're gonna do like birds, something like that, you're putting out the jungle. Have like eagles or hawks, parrots, seagulls on the coastline. When it comes to like the Arctic biome, the only Arctic enemy you really have to worry about is polar bears. Put in penguins, something like that. Kind of mix up the animal variety, make it more, I guess you could say more majestic looking, instead of just being the same bland thing. If they actually do move forward updates, I would love to see Facebook actually keep animals within their certain areas. I pretty much explained this in one of my older Rust videos. Wolves, you don't really see too many wolves in the desert. Keep them more in the mountain terrain, the prairie area, the Arctic area. Same thing with your bears. You're not going to see a bear in a desert. Not once in my entire life of 30 plus years I've ever heard, yeah, we were walking around in the desert and there was a random grizzly. No, it's just not going to happen. boars, one of the things that are in the deserts, add some like coyotes and jackals and stuff like that. Make the animals actually fit the terrain they're actually meant for. You know, but that's just personal to me. Facebook will take its time to eventually maybe adding this stuff in the near future. Who knows? But either way, check out this guy's channel, Shadowfrax, and yeah. So stay safe, healthy, and sanitize. Make sure to like, subscribe in the comments below, and let me know, what are you excited for Rust's updates, and what do you think Rust could be improved by, whether it be PvP, PvE, or environmental or urban environmental stuff. And I'll make sure to check this comments out. See you guys.